Just quickly, I know we have a tornado emergency. We're working multiple storms, but downstream severe thunderstorm warning from Tupelo to Boonville. And again, very, very strong evidence of strong winds and potentially a tornado east of New Albany. And we'll continue to watch that closely as well. But obviously, our main concern here is Winona and the fact that we have debris being lofted there 22,000 feet. And so, again, Lodi Road, Lodi itself, Minerva, Fox, Hendricks, Kilmichael. There's the Webster County line. Okay, there's your tornado, large, dangerous, potentially violent tornado that is in progress. And we do not throw that term around lightly, but that is the situation at hand. And this is pressing east of Winona. And so, Ashley, actually, if you want to, here in a second, what?
Operating to a tornado warning for Union County.
Okay, so that's what I was going to have Ashley look at here in a second. So we're going to stay on the Winona storm. Ashley, if you want to check on the New Albany, we'll get into you in a second, but they're upgrading that Union County. So we'll get to Ashley in just a second. But Lodi to Kilmichael, high urgency, tornado still in progress. But Ashley, I just was talking about this. We'll throw it back to you for just a second. A new tornado warning in our northern spots as well.
Yes, so we just got a new tornado warning passing through or just to the east now of New Albany. We have, I don't see that in my chat yet.
It's popped up behind you.
But yes.
Until 10 o'clock.
This is sticking around until 10 o'clock, heading through Union County, heading towards Lee County, and then further east towards Itawamba County. This system does have the rotation with it. It has the reds, the greens, the very tight velocity there as well. Radar's looking very nice. It has a lot of that hail indicated with it as well. You can see that here within the black and pink shades just to the east of New Albany. And do you guys know how fast this system is moving? 50, thank you. We're going to go ahead and do a cell track moving to the east at 50 miles per hour. So we've got Alpine 946, Graves 948, Corona 948, Blair 950, Jericho 950, Bethany 951, Guntown at 956, Baldwin 958, Chapelville 1001, Pratt's 1001, Unity 1003, Ratliff at 10:05. So the system moving fairly quick. This entire line has been moving fairly fast as we've gone through the night. The past couple of severe weather events ranged anywhere between 35 to 45 miles per hour. This one's pushing 55 and into the 60 mile per hour range. So we are seeing this system continuing to strengthen. We just saw that latest, and we're seeing this area here. This is the area I'm watching right here, that tight-knit group of the reds and the greens very close together, showing that strong rotation as the system is going to continue moving to the east. Isaac has a little bit more information. I'm going to toss it back over to him now.
Yeah, we've got multiple things happening here, and we'll just kind of do the very best we can in splitting the two. But the tornado emergency, obviously, is extremely important. And not to be the bearer of bad news, I'm just reporting what I'm seeing here, but that is another circulation southwest of Winona right there. Now, it's not the same look as the one that just went through town, but there is another potential tornado back in Carroll County. We'll deal with that as it comes here, but obviously Winona is still in a tornado warning for a reason. They have not trimmed that back yet, so everybody it needs to stay sheltered in Winona. But Lodi. Yes.
Community.
Yeah,
got to be in your tornado safe place immediately. This tornado is still on the ground.
We had a tour group in here from Lodi about a couple of weeks ago, and
Cedar Hill too.
Yeah, Lodi and Cedar Hill and Sugar Hill and Salem Road, Minerva. You've got a tornado. It's there. That's where it is. It's still in progress. It has not lifted, and it is still doing damage. And that it's just as simple as that. Now here's the Webster County line. Webster County is right over here. So just east of Lodi, of course, we have Edgeworth Road, Alva Road, Center, and then, of course, Eupora. So on this track, it might stay north of Eupora, but I don't want to fool around with this. It's been on the ground for a long time. And so if you're watching in Eupora, I want you to be sheltered as well. Do not fool around with this at all. And also do not fool around with the circulation that is happening back behind it as well. But definitely the lead circulation is the most important. and it is showing up really well, unfortunately, on both of our radar sources. And no doubt the lead storm is rain wrapped. Again, that just looks like a blob of heavy rain. Unfortunately, it is that heavy rain with a large tornado. The tornado is still in progress. It has moved through Winona, probably caused some significant damage. We hope not, but the radar tells us that the tornado is still down. The radar tells us that the debris was lofted 22,000 feet in the air from the storm very close to Winona that's now bearing down on Cedar Hill and Lodi. So Lodi, Cedar Hill, shelters, basements immediately. Beyond that, we've got Webster County, and then ultimately and potentially southern Calhoun County. We don't want to give you folks an all clear by any means. We are still tracking that, and again, it's debris scattering potentially kind of downstream here, but the debris signature is still there, and we're going to continue to track it as such. Again, this is a very wrapped up, violent circulation. So it looks like they're going to drop the emergency for the time being. They're going to go back to considerable. That really doesn't change our messaging at all with the circulation like that. We know it's done damage, and the tornado is still in progress. And so they're just downgrading from the emergency for the time being. They could go back to that emergency at any point, but the storm could be cycling briefly, weakening briefly before re-strengthening. But we really don't want to, take a... We don't want to fool around with this at all. Again, it was near Lodi, or 10 miles northeast of Winona, moving northeast at 65. So they've actually increased that forward speed even more. So we don't want to outrun this. We don't want to try to outrun it at all. It is moving extremely fast. And it looks like, Ashley, up near Wheeler, Mississippi, we have a possible tornado down up there.
Where's that?
That's in Prentiss County. Maybe south.
Northern Lee, Southern Prentiss,
Yeah.
Eastern Union, and northwestern Itawamba counties.
Yeah, is that the
It looks like.
Is that the debris signature? Can y'all tell if that's?
I'm looking right
I
now.
apologize.
It's gone now,
Okay.
so I don't think that was it.
Okay. But regardless, there's a potential tornado near Wheeler. That's from the fire department in Wheeler, Mississippi. And actually, they just went ahead with a tornado warning here downstream. Memphis did just now in the last minute or so. It came back to back. So the Weather Service now has placed new tornado warnings in effect for Calhoun and Chickasaw counties, as well as southwestern Monroe County until 10:30. So this tornado warning includes Houston and southern Calhoun County. We love to see the Weather Service being proactive with the dangerous storm that is what it is. Long lead times. Houston, you got 40 minutes probably to get to your safe place. Go there now. Don't fool around with it. Don't wait on it. Just wait it out. It is the best thing that you can possibly do. Down in portions of Calhoun County, we've got Calhoun City and Vardaman. So Highway 8 from Houston to Calhoun City. Tornado warning in effect for you. Sweet Potato Capital and Vardaman, tornado warning for you as well, even though the storm is still in Montgomery/Webster County. Again, large and extremely dangerous tornado near Lodi, moving northeast at 65 miles per hour. And notice that there is still that second circulation on the backside of Winona right there. Again, we don't know if that's producing a tornado at this point, but again, the city of Winona is still in a tornado warning. Okay, so we have to treat it that way. Treat it as if a tornado warning is still in effect, because it is, and just wait it out in your safe place, wait it out in that safe zone. This is a dangerous situation that we're going to continue to monitor very closely as the storm continues. Again, we're kind of bouncing between radar sources here. It's definitely a radar rain-wrapped tornado. And I just want to quickly visit to the north here, and we'll pitch it back to Ashley in the Weather Center, working 2 tornado warnings. This storm, Ashley, looks like multiple circulations coming into Lee County.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening, Isaac. And you had me check on Wheeler. Right now, there's no sign of any rotation, or was there before Jackson and I finally found where Wheeler was on the map. So now we're watching two different areas, one to our north here. I'm going to go ahead and circle it for us so we can all see this. One to our north right here, another to our south, just to the east of Fairfield. So this system has two different types of rotation, both heading towards the east around 45 to 50 miles per hour. So we are going to make sure we're paying attention to that, especially if we're along roads or this area just over Birmingham, but along roads, County Road 251, County Road 683, Highway 45, Highway 145, County Road 813, and then heading up to our more northern rotation, Jericho, Bethany, County Road 170, County Road 681, Highway 370, Lebanon, Main Street West, Baldwin, South 4th Street, Highway 45 as well, County Road 833. So we're watching those two separate rotations, and of course right now they are both very tight, sitting in those reds and greens. Switching over to standard velocity now, especially the southern one, you can kind of see it's wrapping in on itself, that green kind of turning into the red. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit further so we can all see this. The green is taking this turn into the red while the red is beginning to work its way in, and that's going to show that wrapping rotation of the system as it continues to track off to the east. I do want to do two separate cell tracks, one for the northern area and one for the southern, as the system continues to push. Right now we're sitting right over Bethany, heading to the east around 45 miles per hour. So we're going to say Bethany right now, Baldwin 955, Pratt's 959, Kirkville 1007, Marietta 1008, Hobo Station 1009, New Site 1013, East Prentice 1015, and Sandy Springs at 1016. Now to track the southern system or the southern rotation going out 45 miles an hour. Nice Acres 953, Guntown 956, Unity 1002, Ratliff 1004, Centerville 1007, Kirkville 1008, Ozark 1009, Marietta again 1011. So that's for that most southern system. So Marietta, I've said your name twice now, so make sure you're in your shelter regardless of which rotation you're watching. Hazeldale at 1016, and Sandy Springs, another name I've now mentioned twice, 1017 for the southern rotation. So I've said both Marietta and Sandy Springs now twice. So regardless of the rotation you're watching, or regardless of any of the names I've mentioned, you want to make sure you're within your safe shelter spot, your lowest floor, your most interior room, away from windows, away from doors. As the system is moving fairly fast, we're also seeing some fairly gusty winds with this system as well. And it's not the only system that we are watching across our viewing area. Of course, Isaac, Dillon, and Jackson have been very closely watching this system moving towards the northeast, now heading towards counties like Chickasaw and potentially Monroe County, which we're all very wary about with Monroe County coming up next. But I will send this over now to Jackson, who may have a little bit more information on the system that they're watching to our south here in just a second. Jackson, any thoughts or details that you're seeing on this system?
Yes, thank you, Ashley. Actually, I do have a few notes here. So they've actually detected what looks like debris fallout to the north of that tornado track in northeast Montgomery and northwest Webster County. So this is basically just confirming what we've already seen. We had a pretty robust debris ball basically the entire track of this storm. So a very serious situation. Of course, they downgraded that from a tornado emergency to a considerable tag, but of course we're still keeping that. It doesn't change our wording, as Isaac said. Something else I will note is Isaac's been in communication with the National Weather Service in Jackson about that circulation just off to the south into the west of that main one that we've been tracking that moved through Winona. They said that they're going to keep that polygon in place for that circulation, but it's not posing, it's not giving that as much of that robust look that we're seeing. However, that again, a tornado can drop at any time with that system. We haven't seen it quite yet with that southwestern storm, not saying it could not. So folks, you need to take this, again, situation very, very seriously. This is not something where, oh, I'm in the all clear, the storm does not look as bad. You need to stay in your shelter, stay in that safe place. Make sure, if you're not already in a safe place and you rode out that first storm, I would use this time that you have now to get into a safe place now and bring, you don't need to bring anything with you except yourself, your loved ones, and your family. and make sure that you are finding a place that you can ride out these storms. Because remember, folks, this is a multi-hour event. We got started a few hours ago, and we're still going with this. This tornado, that main one, has been on the ground for about 2 hours now, a very significant amount of time, and that rotation is still robust. It is still going, and they have that warning issued all the way out into Calhoun County, into Chickasaw County, and they have that considerable tag applied to it. So, folks, 2 rounds of storms making their way on through in a very robust circulation going on right now. In terms of, damage around the rest of the area, well, we actually just got a report of trees and power lines down Highway 51 just south of Winona, between Winona and Vaden. That's per the police department. Further north, in places near New Albany, some of our northern counties, we've had multiple reports of power lines down. In fact, I'll just read off a few of those reports that I've collected over just the past 30 to 45 minutes. We had a tree down on a house on the 100 block of Lafayette County. That was a little while ago, but it's good to get that information out. We have trees down on Highway 345/Ecru Main Street, just outside the town of Ecru. The eastbound lane has been blocked. And so, again, lots of wind damage with these storms. Even if it's not tornadic damage, we're getting straight line wind damage. Remember, folks, those severe thunderstorm warnings out to the north, those are, very much, those were still in place, and those were causing a lot of damage as well. We've also noted hail spikes in a few of these storms, especially a little bit earlier. So lots of threats with many of these storms. And, again, we're getting wording from the National Weather Service. Possible Clay County could be impacted later on by some of these storms. Not going for some of this warning wording, particularly at this point. And I believe Isaac has more at the weather wall. Isaac? Yeah.
We're Ashley, everybody kind of watching everything. I want to touch on the northern storm. Once again, Guntown, this looks a little bit more linear at the time, but a tornado warning is in effect. And so with the environment that we have today, we could see a potentially a stronger tornado spin up on the line. Typically, we'd be looking at more of a weaker type tornado, but again, with the environment today, we don't want to fool around with it. Very heightened awareness needed tonight. And again, very high chance of damaging winds near Guntown. That's in Lee County, also into southern portion of Prentiss County, and then out here into the western portion of Itawamba County. We're going to watch that closely. Obviously, of great concern here is down here in portions of Webster County. It looks like the storm potentially is cycling again, which means that it could potentially be re-strengthening again. And the velocity couplet certainly potentially suggests that there. So you've got Highway 9 coming out of Eupora up to Calhoun City, and Webster County right here east of Lodi. So again, the Weather Service, as Jackson mentioned, as a precautionary measure, keeping the tornado warning in effect for Montgomery County for this weak circulation near Winona. Again, we know Winona has been potentially hit. We've got at least some varying degrees of damage there with trees and power lines down south of town. But Jackson's got some additional information on both of these storms, and we'll get him dialed up here in just a second. But right now, again, Webster County, lightning is increasing again, and that sometimes and oftentimes signals and the latest scan right there even looks a little bit stronger. Jackson, back to you at the desk.
Yeah, so we're watching those storms very, very closely. I wanted to butt in for just a second because we got a new tornado warning for Itawamba, Lee, Prentiss, and Tishomingo counties. That is until 10:45 p.m. tonight. Thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Baldwin, moving east at about 55 miles per hour. So it looks like much of the same of what we've been seeing, those two areas of rotation. It looks like they've tightened up again, and they've issued a new warning kind of downstream into Tishomingo County, into Itawamba, Prentiss. So again, we're watching that area right there. Dylan has been watching the storms to the south for quite some time, and it looks like some of those circulations, especially the main one, it's trying to cycle just a little bit. So we're going to be watching that circulation very, very closely for signs of strengthening. It's certainly possible. The storm that's produced this tornado, very, very robust. So would not surprise us at all to see it kind of tighten up again and drop that tornado and continue with that circulation. But I just wanted to provide a quick update. New tornado warning up for far northeastern Mississippi, and I believe Isaac has an update at the wall. Isaac?
Yeah, Jackson, appreciate it. And again, cycling that storm in Webster County, watching it extremely closely. Weather Service in Memphis continuing a tornado warning now, again, for Chickasaw and Calhoun County. So again, we have multiple storms, multiple counties, multiple tornado warnings. Okay, so we're going to go back here and look again northwest of Eupora. Good news here is that this tornado looks to pass north of Eupora. Okay, so that is one good bit of news. It looks like that storm is, looks like a downstream warning here coming for Clay County. So that's going to be near Embry, moving northeast at 50.
Well,
yeah, so the last part of Webster right there. So sliver of Clay County included here. West Point not included. Okay, so if you're starting to hear some sirens in Clay County, West Point is not included in this warning here. So again, we need to do just a quick reset here for all intents and purposes here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 active tornado warnings at the moment. Okay, that does not mean 6 tornadoes are in effect or in progress, thankfully, but it means that 6 potentially storms here are rotating and possibly producing storms in at least in multiple counties. Again, Spring Hill and Embry's toward Bell Fountain. That is where the greatest concern is per the National Weather Service in Jackson. And again, the rotation still looks quite impressive, especially from the Jackson NEXRAD, Jackson, Mississippi radar. And again, just the downstream area here, again, near Bell Fountain, that's Highway 9, Rockmount Road, Mississippi Highway 50. Again, not 50 in West Point. 50 takes you out of West Point all the way back into Webster County. When I'm talking about Highway 50, I'm talking about it in Webster County. Again, just a sliver of Clay County is clipped by this tornado warning. So again, just to quickly point out, we're not dealing with tornado issues in West Point proper, which is good news. But back to the west here, again, we're going to watch everything closely. And the storm back to the south and west, thankfully, does not look quite as robust over or just east of Winona. So that's some good news. But actually, we'll pitch it back to Ashley in the Weather Center. We're bouncing between 6 warnings tonight. And Ashley, you've got details on the northern storms.
Yes, I am in charge of 2 of those 6, Isaac. So we're still watching the 2 different rotations, but of course, as they've mentioned, we've downstreamed this tornado warning into Tishomingo County. So I'm watching this area here just along the border of this first indicated tornado warning, and that looks like it's going to be pushing its way to the northeast along this northern border of the second one. Looks like it's heading towards Tishomingo County, and of course this system moving at around 55 miles per hour. Again, it's another quick moving system moving east. So we've got a cell track. We've got Hubba Station 1007, Hills Chapel 1008, New Site 1010, East Prentice 1013, Burton 1015, Payton 1020, Neal 1021, Dennis 1022, also Tishomingo 1022. So that's where I mentioned it's heading towards Tishomingo. Belmont 1023, Midway 1024, Golden 1025, Carter Branch 1026, Bloody Springs 1027. I'm also watching a separate rotation just here to the southeast of Guntown, and we're going to track that about 55 miles as well to the east-northeast, just to be safe. Chapel Hill, 10 o'clock, Kirkville, 10:06, Chapelville right now. So if you're within Chapelville proper, make sure you're taking your shelter. Kirkville, 10:06, Ozark, 10:07, Marietta, 10:08, Hazeldale, 10:12, Sandy Springs, 10:13, East Prentice, 10:15, Moores Mill, 10:16, Dennis, 10:24, Belmont, 10:24, Golden 1025 and Red Bay 1027. If you were within this flashing red polygon, it looks like they just expired the one to the west. So now if you're within this last standing polygon here within our most northeastern corner, you want to make sure you're taking shelter, and it does look like that lower area of rotation, the reds and the greens to the southeast of Guntown, has weakened just a little bit. So now I'm going to focus my attention more to this area here just to our south of Boonville as it continues pushing off to the east northeast at that 55 mile per hour mark. I also want to throw out some road names while we're going ahead and talking about the system coming through. We are going to pass over County Road 5141, County Road 5051, Highway 4 East, County Road 3371, 30 here, Highway 30 East, County Road 3401, all the way south there as the system continues, and then eventually County Road 3501. So this system, again, moving quick, 55 miles per hour with that rotation, holding strong there just to the south of Boonville. You can see that also on our rotation. It looks like just to the north of Marietta, we may see some as well, but definitely getting that inflow in right here. You see the notching. We like to call this the inflow notch, the air just circling in into that system, causing a lot more of that rotation as the system continues moving off to the east. Isaac, what you got?
I'll get to Jackson in just a second. I want to pass along just a couple of other reports. So from your neck of the woods up there, Ashley, some golf ball sized hail in Baldwin, also probably occurring in Boonville on the north side of that circulation. Inflow notch right here, Marietta, sheltered, of course. But again, Baldwin, Boonville, likely to see golf ball sized hail. Also in Union County, this is from when the storm was earlier, Highway 30 west, the Union County Sheriff's Department trimmed trees down there. So obviously this storm is capable of producing there some damage. I'd heard of any reports of damage from Webster County. That's some encouraging news, and we hope it stays that way. But Jackson does have some additional information there at the desk. Jackson.
Yes, Isaac, I was just going to point out, as you mentioned, very significant hail threat, not just that tornado threat. Don't forget, golf ball sized hail in extreme portions of northern Lee County, places around Baldwin. Circulation over Wheeler had a very significant hail signature. I'll also point out, this was just several minutes ago, we had somebody report a very stout funnel pass over Winona. They said at the time, about 5 minutes ago, looking north from that location, no apparent touchdown. The National Weather Service we went back and looked at that. And one thing I'd point out is with these storms and these circulations, these are individualized kind of storm cell circulations. We also have a cold front that's going to make its way on through that main line with the cold front. Once it overtakes kind of these discrete cells right here, it's gonna mess with some of these circulations. So I think that's one thing that we're going to be kind of watching here as some of these circulations weaken. That line is going to kind of overtake them, and it's going to kind of kill off some of that circulation. Now that's not to say once that main line starts making its way on through, the main concern then becomes starting to see these embedded circulations. So these quick spin-ups, we've already seen a few of those, especially in the far northern reaches of our viewing area. Those will become the main concern, in addition to that straight line wind threat, in addition to the pronounced hail threat that we've been seeing as well. Remember, folks, 1.75-inch hail with that main cell that produced that tornado in the Delta. We're getting golf ball-sized hail in far northern reaches of Lee County and places around Baldwin. So hail threat very, very pronounced. Flooding threat as well. We've already had a little bit of a flooding threat. We haven't had any warnings, but localized flooding, again, a possibility. But folks, what I would say, especially with these tornado warnings, focus on the warnings, the tornado warnings. Everything else pretty much is secondary. I mean, your car might get dented, but that's not worth nearly as much as your life. So again, make sure you are in your safe place right now and focusing on keeping yourself safe, keeping yourself doing well. And I believe Ashley does not have any information right now from the Weather Center, but we're tracking these storms. And again, I would say it's slightly encouraging that we've seen kind of a weakening of that circulation especially with regards to the Webster and Clay County cells. I'll also point out that they did end that warning in Carroll County. So folks, if you're in Carroll County, I would say you're in the clear at this point. We can give you the all clear now. If you're a little bit further east, Winona, Webster County, places like that, Calhoun County, Chickasaw County, you are not in the clear. You need to make sure you're in your safe place, because all these storms right now, they're making their way downstream. If they're not there yet, they will be eventually. And we're watching that circulation in Webster County for a re-strengthening of that circulation as it spins up or spins out. These things can drop tornadoes at any time. I'll also point out that, very thankfully, if you want to think about it that way, we don't have that extreme or considerable tag with our tornado warnings now. It is just I don't know if there's anything ordinary about a tornado warning, but they've given it that kind of your run-of-the-mill tornado warning tag, and I believe Isaac has some information at the wall. Isaac?
Yeah, Jackson, that's a good point. We've experienced all three tiers of tornado warnings, and something that we haven't experienced yet, at least in my time here, is that emergency that we had in Winona. We don't have one right now, But we have 3 levels of tornado warnings: that base level, the confirmed, and the emergency. And as Jackson mentioned, right now we're at the base level. Having said that, if we want to get Dylan here in just a second, John, the storm seems to be recycling just a little bit. So we're going to let Dylan talk about that here in just a second. The storm seems to be in a recycling stage. And Dylan, you've been kind of watching it a little more closely. I've been kind of watching a lot of things over here. We'll pitch it over to you at the desk,
right,
so that you can take us in for a closer look here.
A lot going on. This storm that produced the tornado in Winona and even back in the Delta, it's still going strong. We've still got the tornado warnings. As you can see with these red and green colors, the circulation does appear to be recycling. And when we say recycling, we mean that it was strong, then it weakened, and now it's starting to tighten back up again and may be in the process of strengthening and possibly producing another tornado. So right now it's over, the new circulation right here, these red and greens, has just crossed over Mississippi Highway 9, just north of Eupora. So it's still in eastern Webster County. Soon we'll be moving through the rest of Webster County, eventually into Clay County. Remember, northwestern Clay County, you're in a tornado warning for this storm, so that's good news. You've had heads up here for the past 30 minutes or so. But it does appear that right over Mississippi Highway 9, where the reds are showing up on our shear rate product, this is where the circulation may be re-strengthening and is going to continue moving off toward eventually Mississippi Highway 15 there in far eastern Webster County, the Natchez Trace Parkway, 389 there in Webster County. So this storm is long-tracked. It's been dangerous. It's produced damage. And we can't rule it out, really. Honestly, it just won't go away. The environment continues to be favorable to support these long-lived storms, and soon this one's going to continue to track through Webster County and eventually into northern Clay County. So I think, Isaac, we're seeing some signs of redevelopment here. The circulation is starting to become more organized near Wathall, Bell Fountain, Monte Vista, and Fane. They're in central and eastern Webster counties. The good news is all north of Eupora. But if you're north of Eupora, we need you in your tornado safe place. We have tornado warnings extending for parts of Calhoun County, Chickasaw County, including Vardaman, Calhoun City, Houston, and as well parts of far eastern Webster County, the Natchez Trace Parkway, Highway 389, there in northern Clay County. So this storm's not done yet. I hate to say it, but it's not done yet. It's been destructive, long-lived, and there's no reason why it should stop now. We're starting to see it recycle, and we want to let you know that we're watching this rotation closely. We could have another tornado touchdown here in a little bit. We'll be keeping a close eye on it. Isaac?
Appreciate it, Dylan. Yeah, kind of looking a little bit more at a classic type look to the storm. We've got the lightning core, the hail core, and on the back side, as Dylan was mentioning, we potentially could have a boundary weak echo region trying to form there as well, north and east of Eupora. And so again, far northeastern Webster County, southern portions of Chickasaw County, and far northwestern Clay County. Again, this storm continues to look like it, again, might be re-strengthening, trying to cycle up just a bit, and certainly a cause for concern. Again, you pointed out the shear rate, and definitely has actually gotten a little bit stronger there near Love Road and Mantee Road, Denny, Silvers, Gilbert Hill Road, all in the northeastern portion here of Webster County. Now, the county line right here, so that's Calhoun and that's Chickasaw. It looks like the main cause for this recycling storm is going to be mainly a Chickasaw County problem rather than a Calhoun City problem and a Calhoun County problem. We'll watch the next scan or two and see if that northeast motion sort of continues here, but it does look like that Webster, far northwestern Clay, and southern portions of Chickasaw County could be up next of this cycling storm. Again, what I don't like to see is some brighter colors kind of showing up on the velocity. And again, it's in an organizing stage at the moment. And again, it's still in an environment that is very, very favorable for tornadoes. In fact, I do want to point out that the Storm Prediction Center, has actually extended the tornado watch in effect for northern Alabama. So briefly turn on the yellow counties to show you that Marion, Lamar counties in a tornado watch. That has been issued here in the last 30 or so minutes, and that goes until 3 a.m. So the Alabama portion of the watch goes a little bit later on into the night. And, of course, Lamar, Marion counties, we always look out for you, especially Lamar County, if that is in our market. And if we have any issues for Lamar County, we'll, of course, continue to let you know. But I will turn the watch back off so we can see the warnings a little bit better. Still, everything looking just fine for Columbus, Starkville, and West Point proper. We've got some showers around, some breezy weather, but we don't have any imminent severe weather concerns for the Golden Triangle. But we are looking at, again, 2 to 3 tornado-warned storms that are in progress. So we got a flash flood warning for Carroll, Montgomery, and Webster, and then a tornado near Clarkson or 14 miles west of Montpelier, northeast at 60. And again, that's going to be this, lack of a better term, sort of messy area right here in northeastern Webster County. Again, several dots of red showing up here. And again, that is telling us that the storm is still in an organizing or cycling stage. And we'll see if it wraps up again. Hopefully it doesn't. But again, the environment does support cycling, longer tracked storms. Again, this is the same storm, remember, that started in Louisiana, went through Rolling Fork, went through Winona, went through Kilmichael, and now it's here in northeastern Webster County. That's the latest on this storm. Let's get back to northern eastern Mississippi. Ashley in the Weather Center with the tornado warning, of course, for Itawamba and Tishomingo counties there in our far northeastern spots. Ashley?
The good news is it looks like this system is starting to weaken. However, we have this warning sticking around for a few more minutes. You can see here, I was watching this northern rotation of 2. The southern one died off a little bit ago. And then I started watching this area right here. If I clear that off and back up a couple of minutes, we'll see how, if you watch it come through, starting about here, very tight, and then they start to separate, starting to weaken. But as I say that, it looks like we may start to get a little bit of a recycling effect, which a lot of our areas of rotation have been doing tonight. So right now, we're right back with those reds and the greens situated right on top of each other on our standard velocity. They are a little bit more separated, but when we take into fact of the direction that the storm is moving, that rotation is just a hair tighter. So looking at this one, a little bit separated. This is standard velocity, storm relative velocity. Right here, you have the red and the green just to the west of Tishomingo, very close. So obviously that rotation still holding strong. But we haven't talked about shear a lot. This system moving in a line, we're seeing that spotty shear of strong shear just within a line going all the way north, heading towards the North Mississippi, South Tennessee border. And of course, that rotation, we're watching just to the west of Tishomingo, is situated right here. We've got the red within the green. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more. We've got that right here, reds and the greens just to the west of Tishomingo. So obviously the system is continuing to move and we're starting to see that closing in on itself. So it's not wrapping up as much right now, but it does look like it's trying to get a little bit more oomph in its step as it continues pushing to the east. But we are only just miles away from hitting that Mississippi-Alabama border. So once it hits that, we will see that continue to push off to the east with the rest of this system. Our radar, though, looking across all of Mississippi now, a lot of the system has made its way into northeastern Mississippi, and from here on out, the system will continue to push off to the east, allowing us to head into the early Saturday morning hours, and then for the rest of Saturday, kick the system off to the east, clearing us out of the rain and of the cloud coverage. But for now, we're still here. We're still watching this system rolling through, and of course, to our south, we have plenty of that system to stick around and watch as there's reds and pinks and purples here going anywhere from Winona north to Houston and Okolona. Jackson, do you have anything you want to add with this system here to the south?
Yeah, Ashley, the one thing I would say, for the system to the south, I would say it's just a very messy situation. And obviously there is a lot going on with the dynamics of this all. You've got your main line kind of coming up from behind these slightly less discrete cells that have been producing strong circulations up to this point. So as you kind of get as you kind of start to see these things get closer and closer to closer, it's going to get a little bit messier and a little bit messier. I'd also like to point out, just for the storm to the north, that's making its way ever closer to the Alabama border. It'll be interesting to see what the National Weather Service in Birmingham decides, or in the Huntsville area decides to go with for, whether a warning looks like they've gone with just severe at this point. Would not be surprised. This circulation has been staying relatively stable for the past little while now. now. Would not be surprised to see that extended into across the Alabama border, Mississippi-Alabama border at that point, and it would not surprise me at all to see that. But for now, they're kind of holding off on that. But for the most part, again, it's those two areas of circulation, a very significant hail threat across much of the area that we've been seeing kind of jumps with some of these storms that have kind of jumped up in the level of return. Basically, if you look at something called differential reflectivity, shows you basically various areas of interest that you can look for hail, and you've seen kind of spikes where we've seen kind of that radar picking up those bigger objects in the cloud, which would be construed as hail, as we've seen golf ball size, we've seen anything up to 1 3/4 inches, and I think Isaac has some more up at the wall. Isaac?
Appreciate it, Jackson. Again, just want to pass along one good bit of news. Calhoun County is being cleared from the tornado warning. It appears Memphis is saying they're going to clear the warning there. So that's some good news. Again, a messy picture here going into northeastern Webster and southern Chickasaw County. But again, a very suspicious look to the radar, and relative to how the storm is moving, we're getting into a better environment in terms of being able to see the storm. And the Weather Service in Memphis actually talking about the low-level wind shear is about 60 to 70 miles per hour, about 5,000 feet off the ground, helping to fuel these storms, helping to fuel the rotation. And so as long as the wind speeds are that strong up off the ground, these types of storms are certainly not in a position to weaken in any phase, unfortunately. But it does look like that storm certainly is beginning to wrap up just a little bit more. That could potentially be a boundary weak echo region forming on the south side of the hail core. Again, Houston right here probably getting some extremely nasty weather. Huge lightning core here, lots and lots of cloud ground lightning in addition to the large hail. We know that storm is electric, charge separation happening in the cloud, telling us that there's high potential for large hail, in addition to the chance for a possible tornado. Again, this is south of the city of Houston. The tornado part of the storm is south of the city of Houston, but it's moving northeast. Okolona, you are not in any warning just yet, but chances are, as long as the storm looks like that, you could potentially have to deal with that in a matter of moments. And looks like might have had a tree on a vehicle in Guntown, but they might have put that in the wrong chat room, so they may need to confirm that before we try to report more on that. But regardless here, two storms that we're watching here, same two storms that kind of rolled out of the Mississippi and Louisiana Delta regions that are now into Chickasaw and northern Webster counties. Again, tornado warnings continue for Chickasaw County until 10:30. So that's another 10 minutes or so. And normally we would be watching, I believe we're not scheduled to go on with our regular 10 o'clock newscast until sometime later on tonight.